Hey guys, this is Jamie. So today I want to talk about a discussion, I guess, the Drag Race, obviously RuPaul's Drag Race fandom has had for quite a while, but I figured to raise a bit of awareness and talk about a bit, but basically the discussion whether Drag Race should have drag kings. Now, I do want to say that my exposure to drag kings is very limited. Um, because it's very recent that the city I live in now has sort of more of a drag presence, and we have like a recent new gay bar opens which does have drag events, and we've had it maybe for a month or something like that. So this is very recent, and I have not been to a drag show, and I really feel bad that I haven't. It's just that every time I travel, it never aligns, and I always have like a shit ton of stuff to do, so I haven't been able to see a drag performance. Obviously, I've watched numbers online. I support drag queens, but specifically when it comes to drag kings, I'm not as well versed. But I do want to say that to start it off, yes, I do think drag race would benefit from more drag, and obviously even from my limited exposure, I do feel like it is something that would be beneficial, and in general we have been pushing the envelope towards obviously more drag on drag race, and I think it would just be beneficial to sort of show that everyone can do drag. Every drag form is obviously valid, and drag race has sort of elevated drag queens to another level as more exposure, obviously. So obviously, doing the same for drag kings would be beneficial. And I do have to say that Muriel Hill is now filming. I think now that it should be filming. I think casting is already done for a drag king show, and I do really enjoy Muriel Hill. Obviously, you might have seen him on Drag Me to Dinner or Somebody Somewhere, which is a great show, and I'm fucking gutted that HBO decided to exit. And it's probably one of the best shows I've seen in a bit, like in um, in a very sort of creative new direction way. And in general, I really enjoy shows which are factually about nothing, and I really appreciate when the creativity goes to sort of show really mundane things and keep you entertained by that. So that is a really good show, and obviously he's there. He's great. He's also a trans man who is a drag king, so obviously even better because we need trans representation in this day and age. So I do have to say that obviously with the drag kings, I do feel like the main association why I don't know that much is obviously they are more linked towards like lesbian culture and etc. While obviously being a gay man, I know more about drag queens in this case. And this whole video topic came to me from reading a subreddit. One of the drag race subreddits was discussing it, and I really thought and skimmed through the comments, and a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, but I want it to be a sort of space for the female fantasy, or the fantasy of like dressing up as a woman and etc." And because like someone lives as a man and etc. And I do understand that we need spaces, for instance, just for drag queens, but at the same time, I don't think it would be bad to sort of add some drag kings. You don't necessarily have to make it predominantly like I don't know. Let's say there's 10 drag queens, and if you add like 3 4 drag kings, it's not bad. And it doesn't necessarily have to be every season, but more like every once in a while, just to add some variety, or maybe do another format like we have with celebrities. But I do feel like there is nothing to lose from giving more exposure to more drag artists. And in general, I feel like there's not enough love for like bearded queens. And for instance, in our city, we have a few bearded queens. And I've talked about this in my previous video, that there is sort of like an idea of making if you have a beard that is more drag rather than drag queen. And I do feel like we need to sort of open up the box of what is a drag queen, what is a drag king, what is drag. And in general, people need to also, I guess, in a way it's funny to say, identify the drag they feel comfortable with as well. And at the same time, push the limits of each box. So I do feel like, obviously, with all its faults, all its problematic history, Drag Race is a pioneer of its art in a way, and it did push it to the masses. It made it very accessible for a lot of people. And I do feel that it would benefit from doing it further. And factually, all it takes is for RuPaul to just like a drag king, factually. Like, no one thought that a trans man being a drag race would be possible, but obviously Godsmack, he's amazingly talented. I mean, she's amazing in drag. And obviously, everyone saw her in drag, how she performs and everything, and like, no one really had nearly any transphobia left, and that's the thing. Sort of people, like on the subreddit, were arguing that, oh, men's fashion isn't interesting, men's fashion is boring, like on the female fantasy. And men's fashion is factually boring, but so is women's fashion. Factually, all fashion is boring these days. But that's like a completely separate issue. So I do feel like giving more fantasy and giving more drag, giving more queer art actually would be beneficial. Like, I don't understand how the idea of giving more art would be negative, and specifically in this day and age where we're getting censored, we're having all these weirdos come up with homophobic, transphobic theories. Like, obviously, there's people. I mean, just look at the US. I actually was thinking if to do like a topic on TikTok or like the trans community, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that this week. I'm way too tired. Where like I just walked through a long while with a friend yesterday, so. And our community keeps attacking our own community. Like, we can't even agree with whether drag kings should be on Drag Race or not. And we have this constant infighting, which ends up like with even simple stuff like, should we have drag kings? And someone's like, no, that ruins the fantasy. And while I do see the point, at the same time, when you go to a space, you see all sorts of drag. And as much as I love Drag Race, we have to talk about the fact that Drag Race can be limiting. And it is pioneering, it is good, it pushes the fantasy and stuff. And I just don't see the downside of adding some drag kings or doing a spin-off with the same amount of budget, or even limited, do a limited edition, do it for Christmas for all I care. It would be beneficial. So my answer is yes, let's have more drag. And I feel like it would be beneficial to shed also on like trans performers, which are drag kings. Again, I'm not very well versed because I'm not a lesbian, I'm not into women, so I don't really know that much of that area. But from what I've seen and from what I gather, it would be beneficial. It would be nice to sort of have more of the queer community together, specifically in this time of division. And specifically, I feel like with so much transphobia as well, it gives more space for trans creators to thrive as well. So I wanted to say that let's just spread joy and the art of drag, really. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. It ended up being shorter than I expected, but yeah. I wanted to say thank you very much for all the love I've been getting. I really appreciate it. It's very humbling. I even get overwhelmed, so thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, obviously feel free to share it, to start a conversation with your friends, family, whatever you want to do with it. And if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave it in the comment section. And feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos and my beautiful face. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.